I always thought I knew my husband. For 8 years, Jason had been my rock, the devoted father, the loving partner, the man who never missed a family dinner unless it was for work. We had a life people envied, a beautiful home, 2 wonderful kids, and a marriage that, at least from the outside, seemed unshakable. But all it took was one small, seemingly harmless decision to rip it all apart. It started with a simple idea for our anniversary, a DNA test. Jason always joked about his mixed ancestry, but never knew the exact breakdown. So, when I saw a popular ancestry kit on sale, I thought, why not? It would be a fun little surprise, something we could do together. When he unwrapped it at dinner, I expected excitement. Instead, I saw something flicker in his eyes, something dark and unreadable. "This is interesting," he said slowly, his fingers tightening around the box. "You didn't have to do this." I laughed, brushing off his strange reaction. "Come on, it's just for fun. Maybe we'll find out you're secretly royalty or something." Jason forced a chuckle and set the box aside. "Yeah, sure. Why not?" I didn't think much of it then. 3 weeks later, everything changed. One night, I was tucking the kids into bed when my phone buzzed with an email notification. I glanced at the screen, expecting another school update or a spam message. But the subject line sent a shiver through me. "You might be related to Jason Monroe." Confused, I opened the message. The email was from a woman named Lauren Carter, and it was short. "Hi, Emily. I don't know how to say this, but I think we need to talk. The DNA test matched our children as half-siblings. I'm Jason Monroe's wife, too." The world around me blurred. My breath caught in my throat as my shaking hands scrolled down to the test results. There it was. A direct match. My children had half-siblings. Jason had another family. And I had no idea. I stared at the email, my vision swimming. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might be sick. This had to be a mistake. A scam. Some glitch in the system. But deep inside, a sickening instinct told me it wasn't. My hands trembled as I clicked on Lauren Carter's profile. Her picture showed a woman around my age, dark hair, soft brown eyes that reminded me of Jason's. And then I saw the real gut punch, a picture of her 2 children. They looked just like mine. Same dark curls, same dimples when they smiled, same damn eyes as Jason. I sucked in a shaky breath and forced myself to think. I needed answers. Now, fingers trembling, I dialed Jason's number. He picked up on the first ring. "Hey, babe," he said casually, as if my world wasn't crashing down. "What's up?" I swallowed hard, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. "Where are you?" "Still at work. Late meeting. I should be home in an hour." "Why?" Lie. I could hear the slight hesitation in his voice, the calculated pause before his answer. How many times had I ignored that pause before? How many times had I believed his stories about work trips and last-minute client meetings? I forced my voice to stay even. "We need to talk when you get home." "Everything okay?" No, nothing was okay. My marriage was built on a lie. My husband was living a double life. And some woman had just emailed me saying she was also Mrs. Monroe. "Yeah," I lied. "Just come home." I hung up before he could ask more questions. For the next hour, I paced the living room, my mind spiraling. I kept refreshing my inbox, half expecting Lauren to send another email, but she didn't. Instead, I stared at the pictures of her kids, the undeniable proof that my husband wasn't just cheating. He had another family. When Jason finally walked through the door, he looked normal. He tossed his keys on the counter, rolled his sleeves up, and loosened his tie like it was just another day. But when he saw my face, he froze. "Emily?" His eyes darted to my phone, where the email was still open. He was smart, too smart. He pieced it together in seconds. And in that moment, I saw it. The guilt, the fear, the sheer, undeniable recognition. He knew exactly why I had called him home. And he knew there was no way out of this. "You have 5 seconds, I said, my voice low and shaking, "to tell me the truth. Who is Lauren Carter?" His face drained of color. And just like that, my whole life shattered. Jason opened his mouth, then closed it. I watched the muscles in his jaw tighten, as if he were physically holding back words. Emily, he finally said, his voice too calm. Let's sit down. I let out a hollow laugh. Sit down? You think I want to sit down after I just found out my husband has another wife and kids? Jason inhaled sharply. It's not what you think. Then what is it, Jason? I hissed, stepping forward. Because according to this email and the DNA results, our kids have half-siblings, which means you have a second family. So explain to me how I'm just misunderstanding this. Jason ran a hand through his hair, looking more exhausted than guilty. I never meant for it to happen this way. I clenched my fists, trying to steady myself. Then how was it supposed to happen, Jason? Were you ever going to tell me? Or were you just planning on keeping 2 wives forever? He exhaled, shoulders slumping. I wanted to tell you. But what? My voice cracked. You were too busy bouncing between your 2 families? Jason flinched. His silence was my answer. I shook my head, tears burning behind my eyes. How long, Jason? He swallowed hard. 10 years. My breath caught in my throat. 10 years? My voice barely came out. We've been married for 8. He nodded, shame flickering across his face. I thought I might collapse. I had been the other woman all along. You married me when you were already married to her? My voice was barely a whisper. Jason hesitated for just a second, just long enough for me to know the answer before he even said it. Yes, he admitted. But I love you, Emily. I felt something inside me snap. I picked up the nearest thing, his work laptop, and hurled it at the floor. It cracked against the hardwood, the screen shattering, but I didn't care. I wanted to break something, anything, the way he had just broken me. Don't you dare tell me you love me, I screamed, hot tears streaming down my face. You don't get to say that. Not after what you've done. Jason stepped forward, hands raised like he was calming a wild animal. Emily, please. Stop, I choked out. Stop lying. Stop trying to fix this. My whole body was trembling now. Do you even realize what you've done to me? To our kids? To her? He sighed, rubbing his temples. I know this is hard. I let out a bitter laugh. Hard? Hard? Jason, this is criminal. Do you even understand that? You legally married me while still married to Lauren. Jason's face paled, and I saw the first flicker of real fear in his eyes. You could go to jail for this, I whispered. Bigamy is a felony. Jason stepped back, running a shaking hand through his hair. Emily, let's be reasonable. Oh, now you want to be reasonable? I spat. When did I get a say in anything? When you were taking work trips to see your other wife? When you were raising 2 families behind my back? He didn't answer. He knew there was nothing he could say. A thick silence filled the room, the weight of everything pressing down on us. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Lauren. Jason saw the name too, and for the first time, real panic flashed across his face. I met his eyes, my heart pounding. I'm going to answer her, I said, my voice steady now. And then I'm going to destroy your life the way you destroyed mine. I picked up the phone and pressed accept. Jason's face drained of color. And just like that, the lies were over. I lifted the phone to my ear, locking eyes with Jason as I spoke. Hello? A pause. Then, a shaky breath. Emily? Lauren's voice was quieter than I expected, soft, hesitant. I had imagined her as someone stronger, angrier. But then again, maybe she was just as blindsided as I was. It's me, I said, forcing my voice to stay even. I got your email. Another pause. Then, oh God. A muffled sound, like she was covering her mouth. So, you didn't know either. I turned away from Jason, my free hand gripping the edge of the kitchen counter so hard my knuckles ached. No, I had no idea. Jason took a step toward me, but I held up a hand, warning him to stay back. He stopped, his face twisting with something between panic and resignation. He told me he worked late, Lauren whispered, her voice shaking. That's why he missed dinners, why he had to travel so much. He told you the same thing, didn't he? I swallowed hard. Yeah. Lauren let out a shaky laugh, one that was more disbelief than amusement. God, we're both such idiots, huh? I clenched my jaw. No, We trusted him. We loved him. That doesn't make us idiots. Asterisk. Jason ran a hand down his face, looking like a man whose entire world was collapsing. Good. Emily. Lauren's voice hardened, like she was steeling herself. I need to see you. I hesitated. Please, she said, more urgent now. I have things you need to see. Proof. Bank statements. Photos. Things that'll make this even worse. I didn't know how this could get worse, but the exhaustion in her voice told me she wasn't exaggerating. I exhaled, my hands still shaking. Okay. Where? My house. Tomorrow morning. I'll text you the address. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I'll be there. The second I hung up, Jason exploded. Emily, don't do this. His voice was sharp now, laced with desperation. You don't understand what's happening. Oh, I think I do. I cut him off, turning to face him. You've been lying to me for 8 years. You've been lying to her for longer. And now I'm supposed to what? Just ignore it? Pretend it didn't happen? Stay married to you? His jaw tightened. I still love you. I laughed. Actually laughed. You don't love me, Jason. You love control. You love getting away with things. You love living a double life and thinking you're so damn smart that neither of us would ever find out. His face darkened, but I didn't care. You should probably start calling a lawyer, I said coldly. Because after tomorrow, I'm coming for everything. Jason stared at me, his chest rising and falling, his fists clenching at his sides. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Good. I grabbed my purse, snatched my car keys off the counter, and turned to leave. Where are you going? Jason called after me. I didn't even look back. To take back my damn life. Next morning, Lauren lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind with well-manicured lawns and kids' bicycles scattered across driveways. As I pulled up, I noticed something eerie. Her house looked just like mine. The same gray shutters. The same white picket fence. Even the same kind of car in the driveway. Jason had copied his lives down to the smallest details. My stomach churned as I stepped out of my car. The front door opened before I even knocked. Lauren stood there, looking just as shaken as I felt. She had dark circles under her eyes, her face pale. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then, without thinking, she threw her arms around me. I froze. Then, slowly, I hugged her back. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I know I don't even know you, but I'm so sorry. My throat tightened. Me too. She pulled back, wiping her eyes quickly. Come in. There's a lot you need to see. I stepped inside, bracing myself for whatever truth was about to hit me next. And I had no idea just how bad it was going to get. Lauren's proof. The house smelled like fresh coffee and something faintly floral, but beneath that was a strange energy, a mix of tension and exhaustion. This was a house built on lies, just like mine. Lauren led me to the kitchen, where a thick manila folder sat on the table. A deep sense of dread settled in my stomach. You might want to sit down, she said, pouring 2 cups of coffee. I stayed standing. Just tell me. She hesitated, then opened the folder. The first thing she pulled out was a marriage certificate. For Jason and her. Dated over 10 years ago. Before I had met him. Legally, he's still my husband, Lauren said quietly. Which means, your marriage isn't even real. My vision blurred. The room felt suddenly too small, too hot. My marriage. A lie. I forced myself to swallow back the nausea. What else? Lauren flipped through the papers. Bank statements. Joint accounts. The house I live in? It's in his name. I flinched. My house was in both of our names. He had played it smart, made sure I never questioned anything. Then Lauren slid something else across the table. A paternity test. I frowned. What's this? She bit her lip, hesitating. Jason always said he was traveling for work. But 2 years ago, I started getting suspicious. I hired a private investigator, thinking maybe he was cheating. He was. But not just with you. My blood ran cold. What? Lauren flipped to a photo. A grainy surveillance image of Jason at a park, holding a baby. Not mine. Not hers. Another woman stood beside him, smiling, completely unaware that she was just another pawn in Jason's twisted game. Her name is Melissa, Lauren whispered. And that's their daughter. She's 3 now. My knees buckled. I dropped into a chair, my hands shaking violently. This wasn't just a double life. Jason had a triple life. The call that changed everything. Before I could even process what I had just learned, Lauren's phone rang. She grabbed it off the counter, checking the screen. Her face turned to stone. "It's him," she whispered. My stomach lurched. Jason was calling her. Lauren looked at me, her fingers hovering over the screen. "Do you want to hear what he says?" My pulse pounded in my ears. "Put him on speaker." She answered, her voice calm. "Hey." Jason's voice came through, smooth as ever. "Hey, baby. I just wanted to check in. How's your day?" My nails dug into my palms. "Baby?" Lauren didn't react. "It's fine. Just running errands." Jason chuckled. "I miss you. I hate being away from you and the kids so much." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. Lauren played along. "You're still at work?" "Yeah," Jason said smoothly. "Long meetings. You know how it is." I had heard those exact words so many times before. It made me sick. Lauren glanced at me, then decided to push him. "When are you coming home?" Jason hesitated. "Not sure. Might be late. I have to take care of something first." I knew what that meant. He was coming home to me. Lauren inhaled sharply, her fingers tightening around the phone. "Jason?" "Yeah." Her voice hardened. "How long are you going to keep lying to me?" A beat of silence. Then, "What?" Jason's tone shifted, cautious now. Lauren didn't back down. "I know everything. And guess what? You're on speakerphone." Jason went dead silent. I leaned in. "Hey, baby," I spat. Then the line went dead. The aftermath. Jason knew. He knew the walls were closing in. He knew he was caught. Within an hour, he started blowing up both of our phones with messages. Begging. Lying. Trying to make excuses. Lauren and I didn't respond. Instead, we called a lawyer. Because Jason had bigger problems than just losing his wives. He had committed fraud. And we were going to make sure he paid for it. Jason didn't come home that night. I wasn't surprised. He knew he was cornered. I imagined him sitting in his car somewhere, gripping the steering wheel, sweating as he tried to figure out how to talk his way out of this. But there was no escape. Lauren and I spent the next morning at a lawyer's office. Her lawyer. Since my marriage to Jason wasn't even legal, I couldn't file for divorce, but I could press charges. So could Lauren. And together, we were about to make Jason's life a living hell. By the time I got home, my phone was buzzing again. "Jason." I ignored it. Then, a text. "Jason. Emily, please. We need to talk." I didn't reply. Then another. "Jason. I love you. You know I do. Let me explain." My hands tightened around the phone. He still thought he could talk his way out of this. A final text came through. "Jason, I made a mistake. But don't do anything rash. Let's figure this out together." I let out a bitter laugh. Together? The man had 3 families, a secret child, a felony hanging over his head, and he still thought he could manipulate his way out. Not this time. Melissa finds out. The real fun started when Lauren and I made contact with the other woman. Melissa. Lauren had her address from the PI's report. She was hesitant at first, but I wasn't. She deserved to know the truth. I drove to her house, my hands trembling as I knocked on the door. A few seconds later, it opened. Melissa was younger than I expected. Early 20s. Long blonde hair. And she had a baby on her hip, Jason's baby. "Can I help you?" she asked, adjusting the toddler on her hip. I took a deep breath. "I'm Emily Monroe. I'm Jason's wife." Her face twisted in confusion. What? "No, I think you're mistaken." Lauren stepped beside me. "Actually, you're the 3rd woman in Jason's life. He's married to me, and he had a whole second marriage with Emily. He's been lying to you just like he lied to us." Melissa blinked. Then she laughed, shaking her head. "No, that's insane. He told me he's single." "Then explain this," I snapped, pulling out my phone and opening our wedding pictures. Right there, in full color, was Jason. Suit and tie, standing at an altar, kissing me like he meant it. Melissa's smile vanished. She grabbed my phone, scrolling furiously, her breathing turning shallow. This isn't real, she whispered. But I saw the way her hands started to shake. Lauren pulled out her marriage certificate, slamming it into Melissa's free hand. It's real. Melissa's face went pale. She swayed slightly, holding onto the doorframe. Then, suddenly, her expression hardened. That son of a bitch, she hissed. There it was. The moment she realized her life had just imploded, and she was not going to take it lightly. Melissa didn't waste time. The second the shock wore off, she grabbed her phone and called Jason. The second he picked up, she put him on speaker. Hey babe, Jason's voice came through the speaker. Calm, smooth, unaware that his entire life was about to end. Melissa's voice was ice. Jason, where are you? He hesitated. Work. Why? Lauren and I exchanged looks. Liar. Melissa's grip tightened around her phone. That's funny. Because I just met Emily and Lauren. Your other wives. Dead silence. Then Jason's voice dropped. Melissa, don't listen to them. Shut the hell up, she exploded. You've been playing me this whole time? I have your child, Jason. Lauren leaned in. Oh, don't worry, Melissa. You're not alone. He's got 2 other kids, too. Melissa let out a sharp laugh, but there was no humor in it. You are so screwed, Jason. Melissa, baby, please. She hung up. Then, she turned to us, eyes blazing. I want in, she said. Whatever you two are doing to ruin this bastard, I'm in. For the first time in days, I felt a smile creep onto my face. Jason had spent years manipulating and controlling 3 women. Now, all 3 of us were coming for him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. It only took a few days before Jason's world started crumbling. Melissa filed for child support and sued him for fraud. Lauren filed for divorce and sought half of everything. And me? I went for the criminal charges. Bigamy is a felony in our state. The moment our lawyer filed the case, Jason was officially under investigation. And then, the cherry on top? Lauren and I dug into Jason's finances and found out he had been embezzling money from his job to maintain his multiple lives. We sent that information to his employer. Jason was fired immediately. His company also opened a case against him for financial fraud. Within 1 week, he had lost. Heavy checkmark his job. Heavy checkmark his savings, which were now frozen in legal disputes. Heavy checkmark 3 women who despised him. Heavy checkmark any chance of avoiding prison. And then, 2 weeks later, Jason was arrested. The last time I saw Jason was in a courthouse, handcuffed, his once pristine suit wrinkled and his face pale. He had lost everything. As he was led past me, he turned, eyes pleading. Emily, he whispered, please, I still love you. I smiled, and for the first time, I felt free. You don't love me, I said softly. You just hate losing. Then, I turned away. Jason was gone. And I was finally free. Jason was sentenced to 5 years in prison for bigamy, financial fraud, and embezzlement. Lauren moved on, got full custody of her kids, and met someone better. Melissa? She got a huge child support settlement from Jason's frozen assets. And me? I started over. I healed. I thrived. Because the best revenge was watching Jason rot and knowing he had lost everything.